Hello, my name is Emily. I'm an alcoholic and I've been sober I haven't had a drink for 6.5 years.
Это Эмили, она не употребляет алкоголь 6,5 лет.
Yeah. So I thought today I would talk about step one. So I won't talk too much about my story because maybe as I talk about step one, my story will come into that. I came in here 6.5 years ago. I had been drinking for 31 years.
Эмили желает рассказать сегодня о первом шаге. Она также инкорпорирует свою историю, личную свою историю в свой спич. Говоря о первом шаге, она расскажет и о себе. Она 6,5 лет назад остановилась, и до этого она употребляла алкоголь 31 год.
So I started drinking when I was about 15 years old. I had always, as a child, loved the taste of alcohol. I was always, at any opportunity, just always drinking, at parties and stuff. But the first time I really felt the effect of it, I was 15. I had half a cider and I just felt this amazing feeling that everything was perfect, everything was calm, everything was peaceful, and I just thought, wow, this is amazing.
Ну, ей всегда нравился вкус алкоголя, но впервые она ощутила действие алкоголя, когда ей было 15 лет. Она выпила половинку сидора и ощутила спокойствие и, peace. Умиротворение, да, с окружающим.
And that was it. I was off and I didn't stop for 31 years.
Ну и вот она там и начала, в общем, это было начало путешествия, и она не останавливалась на протяжении 31 года.
So that was the first drink I had, and the strange thing is that I had this drink, I realised I liked it so much, and immediately I looked at the table to make sure there was some more alcohol, and that was when I was 15. That's not normal.
Да, то есть она обращает внимание на то, что когда она выпила свой первый дринк, который ей понравился, она сразу посмотрела на стол, чтобы убедиться, что на столе есть еще алкоголь. То есть это ненормально вообще ненормально.
So for me, maybe some people hear they're drinking, they think maybe they drank normally, maybe at some point in their life. I don't think that I ever drank normally. Once I had that first drink, that was it.
Она не думает, что ее употребление алкоголя было чем-то нормальным. То есть с тех пор, как она выпила свой первый дринк, по всей видимости, она очень сильно выпивала, я подозреваю.
So to cut a very long story short, I drank in my 20s and my 30s. I was a binge drinker, so I would maybe not drink for a few days or a few weeks or a few months, and then drink, and then always get drunk, always be sick, always end up in a bad situation. And then I would stop for, oh my God, what's wrong with me? And then I would stop for a few days or a few weeks. And this went on for 20 years, basically.
Ну, она была запойным алкоголиком, в общем, могла не пить пару недель или пару месяцев, но потом уходила в штопор, в общем, по полной, и, все время пьяная, все время с похмелья. В общем, вот так вот и продолжалось.
And then in the last 10 years of my drinking, it went downhill very, very slowly, and everything changed when I was drinking when I was younger, it was to go out to nightclubs, to bars, to parties, to socialise with friends. But in the last 10 years, I began to drink for many different reasons. And in the last year of my drinking, I was drinking every day, drinking 4 bottles of wine a day, which for some people, it doesn't really matter, I don't think, how much you drink, but it matters what it does to you. So for some people, it's 4 bottles of vodka a day, 2 bottles of wine, whatever it is. But I was having suicidal thoughts. My marriage was falling apart. My relationship with my children was terrible. And my life had become unmanageable, mentally unmanageable.
Когда более молодые годы она выпивала, она ходила по клубам, тусовалась, веселилась. Но, к сожалению, последние 10 лет ее алкогольной карьеры вещи начали изменяться потихонечку, но в худшую сторону. Она пила по самым разным причинам, и, в общем, все только ухудшалось. Ее брак трещал по швам, ее отношения с детьми ухудшились, ее жизнь стала неуправляемой.
Yeah, and looking back on it now, in the last few years, I was very sick. On the surface, everything looked good. Like there's the husband, the kids, the house, the car, the dog. If you walked into my house, it was immaculate. It was clean. But that's because I would spend 5 hours a day cleaning the house. I would steam the curtains. I was insane, because that was what I could control. I couldn't control my drinking, but I could control the way things looked. Everything looked perfect, but really I had the wine in the cup and I was cleaning the house and I had wine with an ice cube in the wine. Just crazy.
В общем, на первый взгляд все выглядело замечательно. Семья, муж, собака, дом, все выглядело прекрасно. Если в то время к ней кто-то зашел бы домой, он увидел ее дом в прекрасном состоянии, потому что она имела такой obsession, и тратила по 5 часов в день, убирая, в общем, все вокруг. Имея кружку вина, в общем, занималась.
And I thought that nobody knew, but I used to have some builders with doing the house, and I'd be drinking, and they could smell it. I thought that they couldn't, but now I think, of course, they knew, everybody knew. So I'll tell you what happened, what got me into AA eventually. So a few months before, I got up in the morning and I poured myself a drink in the morning, and that was the first time I had drunk in the morning. And I was starting to do all the things that I said I would never do. Drink in the morning, I got behind the wheel of a car, drunk. So all these things that I said, I'll never do that, they were starting to happen.
В общем, она расскажет нам сейчас, как она все-таки попала в AA. То есть это было первое утро, первый день, утро первого дня, когда она напилась с утра. В тот день она начала делать вещи, которые она думала, что она никогда не будет делать. Она впервые напилась с утра, она села пьяная за руль.
So I can tell you how I came into AA, and my step one was very, very powerful. It was a complete psychic change. Some people would say that's a spiritual awakening, psychic change. It doesn't really matter. But once I was finished, that was it. It was like a miracle, really.
Ее первый шаг был очень, очень мощным. Кто-то может назвать это как духовным пробуждением. Она говорит, что это очень мощное психологическая перемена. Ну, как только она это сделала, она решила все для себя.
So what I think happened was I think it was recognizing the phenomenon of craving. That's what got me into the rooms.
Она осознала феномен тяги к алкоголю, и вот это и привело ее, собственно говоря, на собрание.
What happened, I was in Clapham with my husband, my now ex-husband, and we were looking. It was a Sunday morning. I was feeling okay. I hadn't had too much to drink the day before, so I was feeling quite nice. It was a nice day. We were walking around in the morning. We were looking at some houses to rent. And for a couple of hours, I wasn't obsessing about drinking. I wasn't thinking, I need a drink. I just wasn't thinking about it. It's like I got some relief for a couple of hours. Life felt normal, you know. And then I walked past a pub and I thought to myself, I'll just have one drink. I've never had one drink in my life, so...
Это было прекрасное воскресное утро. Она с ее бывшим мужем гуляли по клабам, смотрели, они хотели снять дом, смотрели дома, и она почувствовала себя свободной от желания выпить на пару часов. Но в то же время они все-таки прошли мимо паба, и она подумала, что не выпить ли ей один дринк. Хотя она никогда не выпивала только один дринк.
So ordered a drink. My husband didn't have anything to drink, and I started drinking it. And as I was halfway down the wine, everything changed, and I began to panic. Like, how am I going to lie and get away from him so I can go and drink some more? I wanted another drink, and I was sitting there thinking, trying to think of something to tell him, a story, so that I could just go away and drink for 7 hours on my own.
Ну, в общем, когда она выпила половину своей порции спиртного, она поняла, что она захочет еще, и поняла, что ей сейчас придется придумать и рассказать своему мужу какую-то историю, чтобы сорваться, в общем, и отправиться пить, по крайней мере, на следующие 7 часов.
And I realised, oh my God, 10 minutes ago I wasn't feeling like this. 10 minutes ago I was walking around, I was not really thinking about drinking, I was okay, and I've had half a glass of wine and everything's changed.
Она подумала, что всего лишь 10 минут обратно она чувствовала себя прекрасно, все было замечательно, а вот сейчас она выпила полбокала вина буквально, и все изменилось, и сейчас ей надо придумывать эту историю, сейчас ей надо идти. Ну, это ужас, знаете о чем.
And then I realised there's something wrong with me, and I had like deja vu, thinking, oh my God, it's always been like this, always been like this.
Она поняла, что с ней что-то не так, и она почувствовала нечто похожее на дежавю. Она осознала, что так всегда и было, собственно говоря, с ее алкоголем.
And I just stood up and I thought, there's something wrong with me physically, whether it's in my brain, in my body, I don't know, but I know that I've had a drink. And then my husband moved the table, the drink spilled over, and I was like furious that he'd spilt the drink, like I wanted to kill him. And I thought, what's wrong there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. I need help. So that was what got me into the rooms. The next day I went to my first meeting. And then when I got into AA, I realised that it's not just about the phenomenon of craving, it's about the mental obsession and the spiritual malady.
В общем, когда они сидели в пабе, она поняла, что она физически, по сути дела, больна, что что-то не так с ней абсолютно. И в этот момент ее бывший муж подвинул стол и опрокинул остатки ее вина, и она была очень злая на него. То есть, ну, понимаете, то есть это он опрокинул ее алкоголь. И, в общем, она поняла, что надо действовать. На следующий день она отправилась на свой первый митинг. Вот, и там она поняла, что дело обстоит гораздо хуже, чем она думала, что это не только как бы острое желание выпить, но это также и как бы психологический какой-то разлад и ну, spiritual, духовная болезнь, по сути дела.
And I think when I read the doctor's opinion in the big book, and also read the chapter more about alcoholism, and explains, you know, when it says the idea that someday, somehow, the alcoholic will control and enjoy his drink normally, is the obsession of every alcoholic, and it will bring him to the gates of insanity. And I thought, oh my God, that's me. I think every time thinking, this time it's going to be different. This time I'm just going to have 3-4 drinks, you know. And when I read that, actually, I just thought, oh my God, I couldn't believe it, you know.
Когда она прочитала главу мнения доктора и главу и кое-что еще об алкоголе, она поняла, что ну, это все про нее, это история об алкоголиках, которые думают, что они могут излечиться и пить, как все нормальные люди, выпивая там пару дринков, как бы эта идея сводит всех с ума, в общем, и она поняла, что это как раз о ней.
So I was absolutely convinced I was an alcoholic, really, and that was, and I'm very, very grateful for that, because I know a lot of people don't have that moment like that. I sympathise with people who struggle coming in and out. They don't have. Even a couple of years before I came in, I knew I was an alcoholic, but there was like 1% that was like hoping this time it's going to be different. But then that was smashed, like they say in the book, there has to be smashed.
В общем, да, она долгое время была... Она считала, что она не является алкоголиком, в общем, и даже когда уже в последние годы она подозревала, что она алкоголик, она все равно имела около процент надежды, который позволял ей думать, что может быть, все не так и плохо. Но когда она прочитала первые главы книги, когда она попала на митинг, она поняла, что она алкоголик.
And the second part of the first step is our lives have become unmanageable. I didn't think my life was unmanageable because it looked okay on the surface. I hadn't been in jail. I hadn't, you know, cheated on my husband. I hadn't done this, hadn't done that, hadn't hit my kids. But my mental health was just, I was paranoid. I was having suicidal thoughts. I was obsessed about, you know, it was a full-time job being an alcoholic, hiding the bottles. That was a full-time job in itself. Under the floorboards, in the washing basket, you know, it's just insanity. That is insanity.
Ну, в общем, она думала, что не так все и плохо. На самом деле, тот момент, который называется «наша жизнь становится неуправляемыми», это и было с ней. То есть, на первый взгляд, все выглядело хорошо. То есть, дома чисто, муж, семья, она не изменяла мужу, она не была в тюрьме, она не совершала ничего такого сверхужасного, но при этом она была алкоголиком, и ее ментальное состояние было ужасно. она говорит, быть алкоголиком это full-time job, то есть она занималась тем, чем все, наверное, мы и занимались, прятала алкоголь везде, и старалась оставаться пьяной как можно незаметней для остальных.
So I think that because I got a very solid step one, it was very easy. The rest of the program is like, okay, just tell me what to do and I'll just do it. And I even came in here as an atheist, not believing in God. And I'm just like, okay, I just desperate. I didn't want to drink anymore. And I wanted to put my life back together.
Она считает, что, наверное, из-за первого шага, который был сделан ей очень-очень хорошо, то есть это ее перевернуло. Остальная часть программы далась ей очень легко, и несмотря на то, что она является атеистом, желание бросить пить и начать новую жизнь для нее имело огромное значение, поэтому все шло очень хорошо.
So I think if there's anybody in here or listening to this and they haven't had that moment, because if I hadn't had that moment that day, I really don't know what would have happened to me. I just don't think I would have come into AA. I probably would have been in the crazy house or suicidal or just a slow and painful death. I mean, it was a moment. So what happens to people who, like us, who don't have that moment where they think, that's it, I can't do this anymore? And I guess what I would say to them is, just keep coming back here. If you're in this room or you're listening to this, I'm sorry to tell you, you're probably an alcoholic. Sorry to break the bad news, but if you're here, you're probably an alcoholic.
Да, она говорит, что если вы здесь и вы слышите это, наверное, вы алкоголик, да. Она также говорит, что люди, у которых не произошел вот этого вот случая, который трансформировал их вот раз и все, когда она почувствовала. Вот для нее это был момент, когда она почувствовала, что она больше не может просто-напросто так жить. Для других людей, надо просто посещать собрания и быть здесь.
And the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking.
Единственное условие для посещения группы — это желание бросить пить.
So maybe you don't think that it's bad and you can pull it back in. But I think most people who've been around will agree it just gets worse over time, never better.
Да, для тех, кто думает, что это плохо, но это возможно исправить. И, она, вероятно, имеет в виду, что и начать пить, как все нормальные люди, у нее плохие новости, это невозможно.
And so maybe some people it's more of a gradual thing, a gradual step one. So in the book it says, you can't do it unless you get step one, but that's hard because some people just don't have that moment. So it's important to encourage people just to come back and just to listen. And then maybe one day when they're doing their step 8 or something and they realise the bad things they've done, they think, oh my God, yeah, I am an alcoholic. So it might be at some other point in the program that they get it,
Но она говорит, что для тех, у кого не произошел вот этой вот трансформации мгновенной, только путь — это регулярное посещение собраний, и со временем, возможно, эти люди смогут обрести понимание и глубины проблемы и желание, наверное, излечиться, да.
And just by by coming back and hearing other people's stories, and you realise, yeah, my drinking's not normal, and also by spending time with normal drinkers. I think the best way to know if you're an alcoholic is to go out with people that drink normally, to dinner or something, and they're just happy just having 2 or 3 glasses of wine. They're not getting angry when the waitress isn't bringing the wine quickly that you ordered 5 minutes ago. You're not getting irritated by the service in the restaurant.
Ну, наверное, хорошая возможность осознать то, что ты алкоголик, это провести время с людьми, которые пьют, ну, как с нормальными людьми, в общем, пойти с ними в ресторан и увидеть, что они счастливы выпить пару бокалов вина, все, и они не переживают, что господи, waitress, официант не принес вино так быстро, как тебе хочется, и они там не переживают и не устраивают скандалы по поводу сервиса.
And people that aren't alcoholic, they don't talk about drinking. They don't talk about if they're going to drink. They don't talk about if they're not going to drink. They don't talk about, you know, they're not obsessing about alcohol. And it's since I've stopped drinking, I've realised, why didn't I see that? It wasn't normal. Maybe I didn't want to see it.
Но алкоголики, они не говорят о употреблении алкоголя, стараются не говорить о проблеме, они упускают все это из внимания. И вот когда она остановилась, перестала пить, она задала себе вопрос: господи, почему я раньше этого не видела всего?
And this is, I remember being in a meeting once, and one guy said that he didn't have that moment of clarity, but he said that he'd been sober for about 6 months, and then he started to feel a bit better, you know, things got better with him, and then one morning he got up and he felt so good physically, and he opened his curtains, it was a beautiful day, and he just felt this peace come over him, and he just thought, this is a really nice way to live. So that was his step one, you know.
Ну, она сейчас рассказывает о человеке, у которого не произошло вот этого мгновенного перерождения, но он оставался трезвым на протяжении 6 месяцев, и в одно прекрасное утро он встал с кровати, раздвинул шторы, было прекрасное утро, и он себя чувствовал замечательно, и он подумал, что так жить таким образом, оставаясь трезвым, это замечательно. И это был его первый шаг.
So as a result of just to finish off, you know, I'm really grateful to be. It's strange. People used to say this when I came in. I didn't understand it. They said they were a grateful alcoholic. That means they were grateful to be alcoholic because they had now done this program. And they just felt that they were a nicer person, less judgmental, forgiving, you know, did the self-analysis, they're becoming really honest with other people, but more importantly, honest with themselves. And they just liked the way, they liked the life that they were living, and they felt that, you know, regardless of the drinking, they're grateful that they're not drinking, but they're grateful that they've done these steps and sorted their lives out, and really happy with the person that they've become.
Она говорит о том, что очень многие люди становятся благодарными алкоголиками, она так это называет. Это те люди, которые, конечно, они благодарны тому, что они перестали пить, но они благодарны там внутренним изменениям, они благодарны тому, что они перестали судить людей, они благодарны тому, что их жизнь изменилась к лучшему, они благодарны внутренней трансформации, и они благодарны за это программе.
And just to be happy happy not to be drinking and not want to drink and walk past a pub and go, no thanks, you know, I don't. There were some good times, but you know, for maybe a few hours, and then it got messy, and then it just went downhill, and I don't romanticize about it at all.
Ну да, она говорит о том, что я подозреваю, что она имеет в виду себя, что она высказывает свои эмоции, свои чувства по этому поводу, что она благодарна тому, что она может пройти мимо паба и подумать, что спасибо не надо. Когда-то она проводила здесь хорошо время, но это было давно. И она не романтизирует тот период времени, когда она выпивала.
So, yeah, just finish. If there's anybody listening to this or is in this room who doesn't feel they've had that, you know, spiritual awakening, that moment, complete moment of clarity and complete surrender, you know, what have you got to lose by coming to AA if you're struggling with your drinking? Just come and take what's on offer and start working the steps to get a sponsor.
Для тех, кто не получил вот этой вот мгновенной трансформации, она еще раз говорит, что продолжайте постоянно работать, ходите на митинги, найдите спонсора, делайте шаги, и вы ничего не теряете, все изменения будут только к лучшему.
Thank you for translating.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you for your speech.
Можно задать вопросы. Если у кого-то есть вопросы по собранию, можно высказаться на дополнительную тему, если есть такая необходимость. Но давайте побольше говорить об услышанном.
She's asking me if anyone has any questions, you know.
Yeah, I can start.
Okay.
Maria, alcoholic. I'm just a beginner. My sobriety time is 3 months, almost 3 months. And in this beginning of my journey, I love it. I had this moment. I had this, you know, once in a time tension to change my life, because I understand completely what's going on with me. I have no illusion or disillusion about my condition and about my health, but for now it's difficult for me to imagine that I will be as strong as now when something bad happened. So I believe you survive through some changes in your life for these 6 past years. So could you please elaborate about your experience, how to keep going on?
Yeah, I can definitely give you some advice.
Я спрашиваю, я в самом начале пути выздоровления, и у меня был момент осознания своей болезни, и первый шаг мне дался так же, как и нашей героине, легко и быстро. Но сейчас, на 3-м месяце, я пока смутно представляю, что я буду также уверена в этом выбранном пути, в своей трезвости, если что-то случится плохое. И я попросила Эмили рассказать, как ей удавалось справляться последние 6 лет с трудными, тяжелыми, горестными событиями.
Okay, well, yeah, so I was been sober for 6 years. The first 2 years were like the honeymoon. I was just so relieved it was over. Threw myself into AA, was fascinated with AA, just was reading everything, the books, the movies, the documentaries, everything. And then lockdown came, which was very strange because we're on Zoom and I didn't really get on too well with that. But the last 2 years of my life have been really, really difficult. Really, really difficult, and actually worse than anything that I've ever been through when I was drinking.
Первые 2 года ее трезвости были чудесными, так как honeymoon, как медовый месяц, да, с AA, да, она была счастлива всему происходящему. Но потом пришел локдаун, и многое изменилось. А последние 2 года ее трезвости были самыми сложными в ее жизни, сложнее, чем все, что она была через, даже когда она выпивала.
Yeah, so just, I'm not complaining about my life. It could have been worse. I didn't lose a child or anything like that, but I went through divorce. I lost my father. I looked after my father for a year. He was dying, and I'm the only child, so I looked after him. It was very depressing and very painful death. He was also an alcoholic. So I watched him die, and then my friend's husband committed suicide. My good friend died of cancer. There were lots and lots of things going on in a very short period of time. Like literally everything happened in a few weeks. And I'd never suffered from any trauma in my life before, and I didn't understand trauma, and I actually understand it now. My brain hasn't really been the same since. It was really, really. I suffered from depression, but not real anxiety.
Очень много плохих вещей произошли за последние 2 года. Ее отец умер, она прошла через развод. Самые разные вещи негативные случились с ней на протяжении этого времени. И она говорит, что у нее никогда не было раньше такого экспириенса, то есть такого опыта. То есть у нее была какая-то депрессия раньше, но сейчас ей очень тяжело пришлось.
So the answer to your question is it's really difficult because you don't have the drugs. And there were a couple of times I was thinking I should be drinking now, but I didn't, because I knew that if I had a drink, it was going to make everything worse, 100 times worse.
Да, у нее было пару моментов, когда она думала, что было бы хорошо бы выпить, но она не сделала этого, слава богу, потому что она понимала, что если она выпьет, вещи изменятся только к худшему, гораздо к худшему.
Yeah, and also having made some really good friends in AA, and they were just calling me every day. And also I was doing service. I really threw myself, I was doing phone service once a week, commitment. I was doing 4 service commitments, and that was really good because when I was doing the phone service, I was talking to newcomers who were calling up for the very first time, and after I finished that service, after 4 hours of phone service, I just thought, thank God I'm not drinking. Thank God I'm not drinking. I was very grateful not to be drinking.
Да, то есть очень сильно ей помогло то, что она встретила хороших людей, которые стали ее друзьями в AA, также сервисы, которые она взяла на себя. Она работает на телефоне, она, в общем, ей звонят новенькие, кто только хочет, начать работать по программе, и, в общем, вся эта работа в AA приносит огромное облегчение, и когда она заканчивает 4-часовой свой коммитмент, то есть 4 часа на телефоне, которые она делает, чтобы помочь новичкам, она думает о том, что, слава богу, я трезвая.
But it was also, I had done these steps. I'd done them twice with my first sponsor and my second sponsor. So I'd already done the steps. By the time the bad things started to happen, I'd already done the steps. So I knew what was going on. Like, for example, fear. I knew that the anxiety that I was feeling was fear, because I left my husband. My fear was that my kids were going to turn on me, and fear that he was angry and aggressive. So it was recognizing that the anxiety was actually fear of the future, what was in the future.
Да, еще то, что ей очень помогло, это то, что она прошла на тот момент шаги, и, в общем, она уже была готова, то есть она была вооружена, и когда она почувствовала это внутреннее беспокойство, она знала, что это страх того, что в процессе развода ее дети могут как бы повернуться к ней спиной, и она также боялась, что ее муж поведет себя каким-то, негативно, и он действительно был агрессивный, и, нехорошо вел себя по отношению к ней.
And it's during these steps that we learn all these we have all these tools, not reacting in the moment, taking responsibility for our actions, trying to be forgiving and kind, even if somebody's being intimidating you. All these things that the steps teach us,
Да, то есть, пройдя шаги, она обрела инструменты и могла правильно реагировать или не реагировать на какие-то негативные моменты, которые с ней происходили, но, то есть, вела себя правильно, и даже когда ее, это понимаю, речь идет о ее муже, бывшем муже, вел себя угрожающе по отношению к ней, она просто давала ему поблажку, то есть как бы прощала, что ли.
And it's not because of me, it's because of this program. In the last 2 years, I've not once completely lost my temper. Not once. Not once.
Она благодарит программу, говорит, что это не ее заслуга, а заслуга программы, что она ни разу не потеряла самообладание.
Nearly, but
Почти.
Yeah, thank you. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Yeah, your experience is essential. Thank you so much. Олег хочет задать вопрос.
Hello, my name is Oleg.
Hi.
I am alcoholic. Thank you for your share, and it's a lot of related to me. Even my story is slightly different, but symptoms is the same, and you very clear explain them. So thank you. And my question is very simple, and maybe stupid because I'm just spiritual beginning. And you said what you atheist. Yes, so I feel sometimes that I'm too atheist, especially when I can't get something. And what is can you tell us what is your high power?
Yeah, okay. This is
Just a second.
Oh yeah. Oh sorry. Yeah.
Переведите, пожалуйста.
Всем привет, меня зовут Олег, я алкоголик. Мне очень понравилось спикерское Эмили, хотя мое употребление алкоголя было совсем другим, но симптомы те же. Эмили очень прекрасно объяснила их и рассказала про них. Мой вопрос очень простой и, возможно, не очень умный, потому что я в поиске, я в духовном поиске постоянно, и мне интересно, так как Эмили упомянула, что он атеист, что для нее высшая сила. Спасибо.
Yeah, so I admit that steps 2 and 3, the higher power, is the most difficult 2 steps in the program for me. For some people, it might be step 4 and 5 because they've had some terrible things happen to them in their life. Other people, it might be they just can't get the step 1. But for me, step 2 and 3, just handing our will over to high power, because I came in, I don't know if I was an atheist, but definitely agnostic.
В общем, для нее 2 и 3 шаг были самыми сложными, и да, вот именно концепция высшей силы для нее была сложна. Она не уверена, если она является атеистом, чистым атеистом, но по-любому она агностик.
So I think because I was so utterly desperate to stop drinking, I think I just read the the step 2 and 3, and I just thought, actually, there's nothing here that says you have to believe in God. It said you'll make of your own conception of God as you hand over your will and to a higher power as you understand it. That's a really important sentence. As you understand it.
Ну, да, то есть она вышла из ситуации, прочитав о втором и третьем шаге, она пришла к выводу, что там нету ничего, чтобы заставляло ее верить в Бога. Там была концепция того, что надо создать себе концепцию своей высшей силы, как ты ее понимаешь, и просто отдать все, ну, управление своей жизнью, по сути дела, вот этой высшей силе. Как мы ее понимаем, как она ее понимает.
But the main thing was I was 100% willing to hand my self-will over, because my self-will hadn't got me very in a good place. So I was 100% willing to hand myself self-will over and just listen to other people. And that, I think that's what it is. Step 2 and 3 is more about handing your self-will over to something, and it can be anything that you want it to be. And for me, I'm very, very connected with nature. I love the natural world around me. So when people would say, well, what is your higher power? I think for me, it's my conscience. I actually know what the right thing is to do. And it's like this little voice inside me that tells me, makes me feel bad when I'm lying, exaggerating, gossiping, all these defects of character. And there's this feeling that this conscience that you have, and I feel that's kind of almost like my higher power. That there's something that talks to me and says, stop being an arsehole, do the right thing, And I know it's that feeling that when something is wrong, that you can't explain. That's my higher power.
Ну, наверное, речь идет все-таки о совести. Она говорит, что ее сознание, что-то внутри ее сознания является ее высшей силой. Тот тихий голос, который говорит ей правду, тот тихий голос, который просит ее оставаться хорошим человеком, не быть плохим человеком. Тот тихий голос, который говорит ей, когда она делает что-то нехорошее. Вот это и является ее высшей силой. Ну, наверное, мы называем это моральным компасом, совестью.
And also there are 12 steps. So if 2 of them are a little bit shaky, don't feel bad about that. It's like somebody described it like a wheel that has 12 spokes on it. If 2 of them are a bit loose, the wheel will still work. In a perfect world, all the spokes on the wheel are strong. But if there are a couple that are a little bit shaky, then if the rest of them are strong, then it carries that. And I think the spiritual awakening can be a gradual thing, and I wouldn't beat yourself up about not believing. This program is about being honest, and I'm quite outspoken about it. Some of my friends say, "Oh, you don't believe in God." I'm like, "You haven't done your step 8 and 9." So I don't like to be judged. I don't like to be. We shouldn't be judging each other on what steps we can get and which ones we can't.
Ну да, она говорит о том, что даже эти два шага, 2 и 3, которые для нее немножко нестабильные, зато все остальные 10 как бы и, в общем, достаточно сильны для нее, и как единое целое 12 шагов работают прекрасно для нее, поэтому, несмотря на какие-то нюансы, целиком 12 шагов, как нечто целое, работает для нее. I have a question, if you don't mind. During my sobriety, probably as everyone else, I have my ups and downs, you know, and sometimes I just feel like I'm a bit unfocused, you know, and that little voice inside me just disappears, and it's really hard to regain it again, you know. How do you keep yourself tuned? You know what I mean? If you know what I mean, just to hear this voice, you know, just to hear your higher power. You understand what I mean? It's kind of your, I don't know, probably moral or ethical compass, you know, the thing which leads you, yeah? And how do you keep this thing we call higher power, yeah? Я переведу, I will translate quickly. Мой вопрос заключается в следующем. В процессе своего выздоровления иногда моя фокусировка на контакте с моей высшей силой пропадает, и иногда очень сложно вернуть это состояние. И мой вопрос заключается в том, как Эмили поддерживает вот этот вот контакт со своей высшей силой. Please do.
Yeah, I think when I'm 100% committed to AA, but I also do other things outside the program. Like when I went through some bad times for a couple of months, I went to see a counsellor, which I needed to do, and you know, or talk to a professional, or look. Sometimes we need to look outside AA. Sometimes it can be really simple, like I'm just taking on too much, you know, doing too much, or I'm too tired, you know, really simple things. I'm actually, oh my God, I haven't eaten well for the last 2 weeks. I've just been eating crap for 2 weeks. No wonder I feel so bad. So sometimes it's not that you have a spiritual malady. Oh my God, I've got a spiritual malady. It's like you've had 7 coffees and a chocolate bar for your breakfast. Like that's not, do you know what I mean? Sometimes I think sometimes we can fall into this trap of thinking, I'm sick, I'm an alcoholic, oh my God, and I'm just not taking care of myself, you know.
So
I'm not saying that you're not taking care of yourself, but it could be something else.
I do understand. I do. So you try to keep things right.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Ну, она говорит, что она просто присматривает за собой, то есть создает именно максимально комфортные условия для своего выздоровления, то есть и надо следить, что ты делаешь и как ты делаешь. Иногда ты просто слишком устал, иногда ты просто на завтрак выпил 7 чашек кофе со сладким и все. И поэтому тебя колбасит, естественно. В общем, ну, надо быть внимательным. И тогда все будет все хорошо.
And sitting with our feelings now, because I just couldn't bear to be unhappy before or uncomfortable in my feelings, and now I can sit and think, okay, I'm sad today about, you know, I'm sad or lonely or whatever, and it'll pass, you know. And I think maybe this is going to go on for a few days, or I just try and keep myself occupied. Actually, sometimes we just need a bit of we can do all this work and everything, but sometimes we just need to get out of our heads, just go for a walk or clean the kitchen, or I don't know, just something that's quite mundane, and not be left alone with our heads in the house, sitting on the sofa, just catastrophizing about things. That's what I do anyway, but...
Something productive, something creative,
Yeah.
Она говорит о том, что, да, просто иногда надо просто научиться жить с этими чувствами, и бывают не очень хорошие дни, иногда и грустно, иногда что-то еще, но просто она старается себя занимать свою голову, делать что-то позитивное, ну и тогда всегда есть выход из ситуации. Thank you. Anyone else?
Алмаз, алкоголик. Вопрос такой. Я услышал в рассказе, что у Эмили было 2 спонсора. Да, то есть надо было закрепить знания или...
Почему?
Почему, да.
Almonds has a question. You mentioned you had 2 sponsors, and so he would like to find out why it happened this way for you.
Yeah, so I had a sponsor. I got a sponsor after a few months, and she was fantastic. She was only 1 year sober, so she took me through the steps quite quickly, and she did a very good, for somebody that was 1 year sober, she did a very good job. But I felt that after a couple of years, I needed to do deeper, especially step 4, step 5, 8 and 9. Like I needed to, I think it was like a good like introduction to the steps, but when other people started talking about how they did their step 4 and all the things they did for their step 4, I'm like, oh, I didn't really do that. It only took me a few weeks to do it. So I needed, and then I found somebody else, and she took me through the steps in lockdown again.
В общем, первый ее спонсор, человек был трезвый около года, и они вместе прошли шаги очень быстро и достаточно качественно, Эмили сейчас считает. То есть это был прекрасный спонсор для человека, который был всего лишь год трезвым. Вот. Но потом со временем она поняла, что она хотела бы более глубоко погрузиться в шаги, в их изучение, особенно 4-й шаг. Вот. И потом она нашла человека, который смог ей помочь в этом.
I'm still very good friends with my first sponsor. I'm seeing her tomorrow night, actually.
Она все еще в прекрасных отношениях, они хорошие друзья с первым спонсором. Все прекрасно. How about your friends and relatives? I mean, people from your previous life. How do they react to your transformation?
Well, you know, when it's the anonymity, we're not supposed to just tell everyone, are we? So not many people know that I'm in AA, but they know that I've stopped drinking, but they weren't surprised. I mean, they knew I drank too much. They didn't quite know how much I was drinking, because I was quite good at hiding it, but they knew. Nobody was shocked when I told them I was an alcoholic. But they're happy. But actually now I have a lot of, I would say, it's been 6 years. I think I spend more time with my AA friends than I do my other friends.
В общем, я задал вопрос, как ее друзья и родственники воспринимают трансформации, которые с ней произошли, тот факт, что она является членом АЭ. Но она сказала, что не все ее знакомые, близкие знают об этом, но те, кому надо, вероятно, знают. В любом случае, люди знали, что у нее были проблемы с алкоголем, и все знают, что она бросила пить. Она не говорит всем, является, по какой причине, в общем. И последние несколько лет она проводит больше времени со своими новыми друзьями из АА, чем со старыми. Thank you, Emily. Cool.
Hi.
Dennis, alcoholic.
Hi.
Thank you so much, Emily. I just wanted to dive deeper into your moment of clarity. You explained it quite well, but I wonder if you maybe before this click, you unconsciously prepared yourself. Maybe you had watched movies or videos. Maybe you read books or you talked to people, and so you reflected somehow on your emotional status. So maybe there was not such a momentary change.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think what happened in the last year, it went down. Oh yeah, sorry.
Переведи.
Да, я спросил насчет вот этого самого момента осознания, когда Эмили рассказывала, что она поняла, что она не может больше пить, и к ней это пришло вот как бы сразу и бесповоротно, а я спросил, возможно, это было как-то подготовлено, может быть, даже неосознанно, что, может быть, она, не знаю, читала что-то, смотрела видео или разговаривала с людьми, сама с собой что-то там осмысливала, вот, да.
Yeah, actually, you're right. There were a few things that happened in that last year. It went downhill very quickly, and one of the things was drinking in the morning, thinking, "Oh my God, I've done it!" Like I had a drink at 10 minutes to 12 because I couldn't wait 10 minutes to 12 o'clock, and so there was that. There was the getting in the car drunk. There was going on holiday with my family and swimming in the ocean and thinking, if you want to do this is probably a good time to do it because it will look like an accident, That was the first time I'd ever had a suicidal thought. So yes, there were a few of those things, and another one was I went to see a film. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's called The Girl on the Train, and it's about an alcoholic woman who's drinking on the train. Like she's got bottles of wine in her bag, and she's like drinking on the train. And I was sitting there in the movies going, "Oh my God," So yes, there were definitely a few things that happened that in those last few months that probably helped me get to that point. Yeah.
Произошло несколько вещей на протяжении последних нескольких месяцев ее употребления, которые помогли ей, скажем, прийти к первому шагу, по сути дела. То есть, да, она думала о самоубийстве, когда она купалась в океане. Она стала обращать внимание на то, что она не напилась без 10-12 первый раз в жизни, не могла подождать 10 минут буквально. Для нее, видимо, это имеет значение. Вот. И такие вот вещи. Также фильм «Девушка в поезде», там история о девушке, которая употребляет алкоголь. Она увидела что-то общее с главным характером героини фильма. То есть она как-то ментально двигалась к этому. То есть как-то так.
And one other thing, I was doing something that I didn't really do before, and that was I was getting into conflict with people. Getting into conflict, arguments with my mother, which is something that was out of character for me.
So you kind of felt your personality was changing.
Yeah, becoming a nasty drunk. Because I'd been quite a good drunk, a fun drunk for a while, but then I was just becoming a nasty drunk.
It's good. You could understand what happened to you.
Yeah.
Because let's say for me, I thought I'm perfect. It's my fault, not mine.
Yeah. I didn't think that at the time, but now I know that,
Да, она еще обратила внимание на то, что ее внутренний мир начал меняться, и личность, по сути дела, начала меняться, и она стала более агрессивной, неприятной, будучи под воздействием алкоголя, она стала, начала создавать проблемы окружающим, по сути дела, чего раньше не было. Ну и вот это, в принципе, наверное, ее и подстегнуло, помимо всего прочего, подстегнуло ее к тому, чтобы остановиться. You kind of had some kind of good understanding of things you really wanted to have, and the place you really wanted to be, kind of mentally, psychologically, So when you recognized all these changes, it just causes kind of discomfort. So it made you move. It brought this decision to stop.
Yeah. I think the other thing that happened in that moment, just very quickly, is not only did I recognise, sitting there that minute, not only did I recognise the phenomenon of craving, I was also looking around and seeing everybody just getting on with their lives, happy, chatting to their neighbours, little kids. I remember seeing these two little boys walking to the park with a football underneath their arm, and it just brought back some memories of a happy childhood. And I just thought, what am I doing with my life? Like, what is going on here? Like, how have I ended up just drinking myself to death?
Да, она почувствовала, что жизнь проходит, наверное, это так можно проще перевести. Она обратила внимание, что вокруг происходят какие-то хорошие вещи, но это было где-то там. А она оставалась со своим алкоголем и была просто на пути к саморазрушению, то есть на пути к тому, что мы называем спиться. Вот и все. И в какой-то момент она увидела двух детей с футбольным мячиком. Она подумала о том, как они счастливы. И это принесло с собой вопрос, что она с собой делает и зачем.
But on a positive note, sometimes it's depressing sometimes to think about all this stuff, but actually we do sometimes need to be reminded of the bad times, We need to walk out of here and think, oh my God, I don't want to ever go back there.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Just a couple of hours ago, spoke about it to my sponsor. Last night I was scrolling through WhatsApp messages, and I found one message from last year, and the message was from my landlord. And he texts me like, hey, mate, you should stop. If you don't, you will have to leave my place, you know what I mean? And it just shook me.
Yeah.
Brought me to reality straight away. Face God, thank you. I'm in a different place now. Она говорит о том, что несмотря на то, что какие-то вещи могут выглядеть и чувствоваться негативно, тем не менее нам полезно время от времени получать напоминания о нашей болезни, о том, где мы были и что с нами было, чтобы не почивать на лаврах, как мы говорим.
May I spoil everything? We had similar questions about the God and understanding and the high spirit, etc. Honestly, as a believer, and I cannot understand. You mentioned that it's a 12 steps. It's like a complement of 12 steps, and if you miss difficult 2 steps of them, the rest of the wheel is still running. But my personal, as a believer, my personal understanding that High Spirit or God is everywhere in our program, in all 12 steps. And it's very difficult, so I just namely, let's say, okay, step is difficult to think something there, is maybe Mother Nature. Okay, step 3, to surrender, to hand over everything to them, to Mother Nature. Step 5, confess, to God, yourself and other person. So perhaps if it's no God there, then it's just you and other person, so it's between two of you. Then 6, prepare that the God will remove. 7, asking again. It's God everywhere. Okay, 8, 9, I don't like these 2 steps personally. They were most difficult to me because I'm not guilty to anybody. People guilty to me, not 8 and 9, and I should never compensate anything. 10th, okay, again, you can do it on your own, continue inventarization. But then 11, prayer, singing, pray, etc. Pray to whom? If it's no God, just to pray to yourself, to parents, to friends. So again, this is missing stuff. 12, again, okay. So, to me, without God, it's very difficult to follow these old steps. And perhaps you need to have a very special sponsor with similar souls. So agnostic sponsor or 2 agnostic sponsors, and to discuss it with them and follow steps with so it will be agnostic path somewhere to the healthy life.
So what is the question?
Yeah. So my question is, were your sponsors agnostics? And can you maybe explain more?
How did you deal with conception of God?
It's hard. It's hard because they talk a lot about it in the program, and I just, you know what happened? I got sick of lying, sitting there, and you know, I admitted, look, I'm really struggling with this step, with these 2 steps, in the same way that if you're struggling with this, doing the step 4. Then you should be honest about that. You can't force yourself into this. But for me, my spiritual awakening or my belief in a higher power has been a gradual one. Like they talk about the William James, the gradual spiritual awakening. And to think of how far I've come in 6 years, I couldn't even sit in a room with anybody talking about God. I came from a Catholic. I mean, don't even talk to me about the Catholic Church. Do you know what I mean? So I became from very militant, you know, atheist to actually being very open-minded. So in my mind, I've come a long way. To other people, I haven't, you know. But I think that all we can do is try and, you know, work on the steps that we're struggling with. But I just think there's a program of honesty, and if we're struggling with this, we should be open about it. Like you just said, you were struggling with your 8 and 9, struggling with, you know, apologizing to people. That's what you've struggled with. And
honestly.
Yeah, and I think it's a program of honesty, and I think when we start trying to pretend that we've got it or we don't agree. I don't like the Just for Today card. You know, that's just me. I said to my sponsee, you read it if you want to. I don't like it. You know, I don't think we should be like a little mouse going and never talking about the way we feel and bad things that happen to us. I think we should, that can be very damaging. And that's what that Just Today card says to me in many ways. So I think it's really important we just discuss, you know, the way we feel about the program, and I'm on board with 90% of it, 95% of it. So I think it's great that we can just be open about that.
But sponsors, they must have similar mind.
No. My first sponsor was believed in God, and my second sponsor was a bit like me, but had the gradual kind of handing over. Just if you don't believe in God, pray anyway. You know, just it's a good thing to do. It's a good thing to just to. And she said, say the prayer of St. Francis, which is in the big book, which I love. And she said, say one thing every day. She says, help me see the truth today. And that's a good advice. Just help me see the truth today. So, yeah. But that's all I can say about that.
You just use kind of moral concepts instead of conception of God, and like just your understanding of good things, nature of the good things, and so. And well, still, you know, we kind of all of us, I believe, we are from Soviet Union. And let's say we were born there, and my parents were atheists, both of them. And when my grandmom tried to tell me something about God, my mom was like laughing about her, and she said, "Don't pay attention. She's just an old woman," you know, and. But it didn't make all those people bad. We still knew what was good, what was bad, and you know, it's like how do we call them? Mortal sins, like murder and everything. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, like and. Again, if you're talking about good things, you still can count them, So we all know what is good, what is bad, And I think in every society, it's kind of similar everywhere, whatever you believe, whatever it's called, Allah or Jesus or Buddha or stars or Mama Earth or whatever.
Emily, thank you so much for your speech, for this conversation, for all your answers, for your experience. I believe it was a deep conversation and very important thoughts that will help all of us to keep going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Nice to meet you.